Hi, I'm Marcia talking to you about change communication. You know, leaders often say to me, our employees just don't get it. They don't understand our strategy or what we're trying to achieve. And I tell them it's easy to understand why, because your communication is focused about information on change. It's not communicating change. Change communication is about engaging employees into action. It's not passively reading information about what is changing. Now, there are two key things to remember when you're communicating change. First, you have to focus on the why and not the what, and that process changes behaviour. That's the difference between change communication and information. What we're looking here is to get to the aha moment. And I can always see when finally I get to the point that somebody will say, I get it now. So what happens in an organisation typically, we embark on a change program, but we don't connect the dots for people to say how it all integrates together. And when you really get people engaged, that's when you make a difference to the organisation. Most of the change programs that I see around are about implementation. They're not actually about sustaining change and really shifting an organisation's culture. The thing about change communication is that it doesn't cost much to set up, and that's largely because it's about face-to-face engagement. But remember that every organisational culture is different. Therefore, you just can't pick up one approach from somewhere else and think that it's going to work in your organisation. And you need to align it with strategy and to measure it by business outcomes. If you can't do that, then you're not communicating change. It is not about telling employees the same thing in many different ways. It is about designing a process that explores the why behind change and actively engages the whole organisation, because the change communication process changes behaviour. Now, don't get me wrong, information has its place on the internet, emails, face-to-face forums and posters and so on, but it's the reinforcement of the message. By focusing on this approach alone, you will not engage people in change. Hundreds of hits on an internet page does not mean employees are engaged. They are only engaged when they are doing something different as a result of the change communication process. And when you do that, that's when you'll get traction with your business strategy. The other reason why strategy is so important is because I don't believe any change program should be implemented without being measured against business outcomes. It's just they get all excited about what they're going to do and they forget about why they're doing it. What you really want to know is what impact did this whole change process have in terms of measurement and success in terms of the business strategy. So what are you going to measure? I think it's really important that leaders drive change at every level. When I design a change communication strategy, one of the critical things is to look at a process that means leaders have to actively drive the change process. The biggest mistake we make is that we think that we're communicating to all audiences the same way, and we're not. It would never work if I said we're just going to use the same way that we always do things, but now we're going to look at process improvement. I had to put something in place that changed the way I did that. Your interaction with an organisation is the whole, it's not the part, and that's internally. That's how people need to think. The ultimate aim for me is always to bring strategy to life.
I am impressed with concrete, thorough guidelines and instructions to help build a robust employee engagement plan. Rated excellent by my participants, and it's easy to see why. Marcia has in-depth working knowledge of the corporate world, and her sessions were deeply engaging. Her plethora of examples taken from her own experience gave her an edge over many other consultants. Marcia has a huge repertoire of practical tips on strategies and implementation tools for employee engagement. I enjoyed listening to the varied cases shared to augment the theories. Marcia provided us with a very effective and thought-provoking presentation on change management. She connected with the audience and made a lasting impression.
When I design a change communication strategy, the critical piece for me is to make sure I put in a process that means Leaders at all levels in an organisation have to be actively involved in driving it.
A highly sought-after speaker, Marcia has presented at many conferences globally, including the International Association of Business Communicators World Conference in Vancouver, Canada, delivered the keynote for the Marcus Evans International Communication Conference in Shanghai, China on designing employee communication strategies that engage employees, conducted master classes with the Public Relations Institute of Australia and the Public Relations Institute of New Zealand, spoken for the conference board on the topic of face-to-face communication, gaining trust and credibility of your workforce, conducted master classes in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and in Singapore for the Asia Business Forum.
What I love about what I do is that it makes people feel that their contribution matters, both leaders and employees. And there is nothing more rewarding than seeing people excited about change and wanting to get involved. I work with organisations globally to assist them in designing their change communication strategies or to speak at their events. So give us a call and we'll partner with you and promise to deliver change communication that truly engages your employees.